Writing is on the wall in as far as ODM loyalty at the coast is concerned. A unilateral decision by the over a dozen ODM coastal leaders to jump into Deputy President Ruto's early presidential campaign bandwagon has rattled the inner core of Raila's party, and part of the agenda on today's ODM parliamentary group and the party's National Executive Council meeting in Mombasa was on members' discipline. Article 5(4) of the ODM constitution prescribes expulsion from the party for any member who subscribes to or promotes activities of a political party whose objectives are in competition with those of ODM. This will require such a member to seek a fresh mandate through a by-election. So, will the party succeed on taming their hopping members, or is it lacuna created by the March 9th handshake? Raila Odinga explains why ODM is still in the opposition.
We remain in opposition. We have taken a principled position that what is good for Kenya is good for ODM.
Good evening. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. It's exactly 8 p.m. East African time. On the show tonight, I shall be speaking to political analyst Albert Ayeyo and Joseph Simecha, as well as ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, who will join the conversation by way of phone. But for now, let me bring in my colleague Sophia Wanuna, who is on standby live at the CBD with Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei. Sophia, good evening. Sophia, good evening.
Good evening, Yusuf. So a number of members from the Orange Democratic Movement find themselves in crosshairs, having to explain their new dalliance with the Deputy President, William Ruto, whose ambition to succeed his boss, President Kenyatta, is no secret, and many have been aligning themselves with him, expressing their support. Some of those include Governor Kingi, we've seen Aisha Jumwa, as well as Suleiman Dori. And in this retreat currently ongoing in Mombasa, the NEC, as well as the parliamentary group of the Orange Democratic Movement, it has been reported this is an issue that is expected to come out since ODM is not, despite the handshake, they've been reiterating and repeating that it is not part of Jubilee. And so for members from the party who have been very outspoken in the past to then come and speak and express support of a candidate in a different party, that called for disciplinary measures. But this is occasioned by what has been a back and forth between those in Raila's camp in ODM and those in the Deputy President William Ruto's camp following that handshake. Some jitters being caused. And so tonight, I want to speak to a man who has made it no secret that he did not support that handshake, and want to just get to understand what the import of that, even with these calls for a lifestyle audit. And we had MP Oscar Sudi also talking about how that needs to go back even to the founding father, President Jomo Kenyatta, who's the father of the current president. So a lot to cover. Kipro Cherargei is a Nandi County Senator. Thank you for your time. So ODM is talking about disciplining its members because of this support they are now openly showing for your party deputy leader, is what Ruto is. What do you make of that?
I think that is hypocritical. The ODM and NASA are not being honest with themselves, because as much as we know, Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister, is the father of democracy. So I thought everybody has a freedom of democracy. And number two, the members of ODM have realized that there is no hope in ODM, there is no hope in NASA, and therefore they have realized the man to watch and the man to succeed President Uhuru is the current Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Number three is that Deputy President William Ruto has proven himself beyond doubt that he is a national leader and is a presidential material, and that is why they can identify with many values, not only where he comes from, but even across the country. We have seen the support from Coast, from his backyard, Rift Valley, across even central Kenya, Ukambani, and many other places. That shows that these leaders have seen the vision that the Deputy President is seeing going forward. And mind you, the four pillars of the president, the big four, the legacy that we need to cement on it, and the right person to cement on that for the Big Four agenda for president is excellent, the Deputy President.
All right, you talk about cementing and really focusing on the legacy, but what is disconcerting for many Kenyans, we're barely a year out of the elections, general elections last year, and here is a very hyped up, if you like, campaign on 2022. Why wouldn't you let this slide, at least for now, to focus on working to deliver for Kenyans?
I don't think anyone is campaigning at this time of the time.
Really? With 2022, we're with
put
you?
it into perspective. The Deputy President himself has not said he's running in 2022.
It goes without saying, sir.
It is his lieutenants. You should be asking us, but we are making our intentions known. You know, the problem is that compared to our opponents, if you realize in 2013, 2017, it took NASA to almost a year to elections to name the flag bearer. And that is what made them perform dismally. But as in Jubilee, we have a successive plan that we implemented in 2013. We are aware, God willing, 10 years for President Uhuru Kenyatta, another 10 years for William Ruto. And as Jubilee, since there is no any other person who is automatic presidential candidate for 2022, it's William. And therefore, we are not even having the primaries, the party primaries in 2022 for presidential candidate, but those is gubernatorial, senatorial, MPs, MCAs, that is when we'll have the primaries. That there is no one who is doing campaigns as at now. What the Deputy President is doing...
What is this 2022 repeated talk? Because fine, you're saying the Deputy President is not speaking about it, but why speak of it now? We are 1 year barely.
No, you know, Sophia, as politicians, our business is politics.
No, it's to deliver services to Kenyans.
Let me come to that. In as much as outside, if you are blaming us for campaigning during parliament time, it would be different. We are doing this in church functions, in public functions, outside the days that we sit in parliament to legislate and represent our people. We are aware, and that is why one of the key components that is before us is to ensure the laws that will guide and ensure that the Big Four agenda of the president is successful. Is that what we are working to ensure the delivery of Kenyans at the end of the day?
Let me put this to you, because the president has expressly shown his discomfort with these campaigns, because that is what, as much as you don't want to call them that, are. When he says tanga tanga, it speaks of a person who has lost focus and is now misplaced in movement in as far as the pronouncements they're making with campaigns. So this is seemingly fomenting an outfall or fallout, if you like, in Jubilee.
But you remember, you are not finishing that sentence. The president himself at Jacaranda Crowns, along when he was greeting Wananchi, he said, if there is any problem that you have, make sure the deputy president is aware, so that at the end of the day, we can focus. And you remember, he said, if you have any problem that you have, that the deputy president needs his attention, then you should bring up aware. Number two, kutanga-tanga, the president did not say it in bad faith. He was just saying, as what we call, he was just commenting, because the discussion he was having an informal, and shows that kutanga-tanga does not mean kutanga-tanga too ovyo-ovyo. Kutanga-tanga is what the deputy president is doing.
With due respect, Senator, even you cannot explain away tanga-tanga, but let's take it back to the lifestyle, because at the bottom line, yeah, no, you need not interpret. Kenyans have interpreted it, and what they see is a president who wants to secure a legacy and a deputy whose ambition is frustrating that.
But it is the same Kenyans who have said Tanga-Tanga movement to State House, and it is a good slogan for now. It is very important, because Kenyans have even changed themselves to say Tanga-Tanga movement for 2022. And that is what I want to say is that Kutanga-Tanga did not mean a bad thing. What it meant is that the deputy president is commissioning tomorrow. He's joining the Air Teachers Association to open. He was in a church service yesterday in Thika. He has been opening roads and other infrastructure across the country. So Kutanga-Tanga means he is even the principal assistant of the president. Okay. Mind you, some of the functions the president cannot attend, and the person he can delegate to is the deputy president.
All right, let me ask you this. You said you did not support the handshake, and some within the deputy president's camp see Raila Odinga as a threat for Ruto's ambition. Why?
No, from the onset, when the president told us there was a handshake, we supported it. If the intention was peace, unity and development and inclusivity, we saw that document. It was about devolution, it was about electoral justice, it was about restoring the dignity of Kenyans, it was about the national ethos and ethics. It was okay. But when we realized the angle, the direction which handshake was taking was very sad. Because
What is that angle?
the angle was that the former premier was using that to achieve two agendas. One is to prepare ground for presidential bid in 2022.
For himself.
By pacifying the Jubilee stronghold so that he can be accepted and he can therefore sell it. Secondly, was to derail the deputy president's presidential ambitions. And you have heard the truth of the handshake has now come. In the weekend, he said deputy president should not tanga. And yet, he's not a prefect of Jubilee. He's not a member of Jubilee. Why would he give directions to the deputy president?
He's saying the same thing the president said. Let's focus on work.
He doesn't have on any moral authority to ask where the deputy is. The only person who should ask the president is the wife. Number two, when deputy president kutanga across the country, he doesn't do it on a weekly basis. You can even see he normally meets technocrats from ministries. He's discharging his duties as a principal assistant during the week. So when some of the people are enjoying their weekend, he can create time to attend a church function.
What this sounds like, Senator, what this sounds like is that you're rattled. You thought you're the only runners. It appears there could be another formidable person, and now you're rattled, the Raila Odinga, and that is why you're taking issue. But shouldn't these matters wait to be settled on the ground? Let the people decide. Isn't that the essence of the vote? Why start now this pulling back and forth?
No, by the way, we want to be honest. As lieutenants, as members of Jubilee, what we are just making Kenyans is to make aware of our intentions for 2022. The service delivery and the key big four agenda of the president is what takes the president now. These issues come only when we are attending functions, maybe church functions, public functions, or when the deputy president and the president launch projects. The issue is not, we are not relegating the service delivery to Kenyans. We are not relegating, but the issue of the handshake, in fact, you saw in the budget, the money was never allocated for the handshake team. Number two, it takes 1 year to obligate. And therefore, we are aware the only opponent against the deputy president is the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And that is why now he is worried, because he has always been late in naming flag bearer. That's why he's worried these people are mejipanga mapema, and that is why you can see the prefecting issue of saying. But the issue is we should be tell the deputy president not kutanga because he has failed on 1, 2, 3.
Final
The
question.
person who should say that is the boss.
Final question. The lifestyle audit, the directive from the president, and we had the MP Oscar Sudi talking about the need for it to go beyond President Kenyatta to his late father, the founding president. And many from the deputy president's camp have seen this sustained campaign on corruption as a targeted campaign against him, which then, some would argue, gives credence to those that allege he's corrupt. So what is the problem, and why do you feel like you need to hit back by saying it must go to the former president?
No, I think what I said, in fact, it is personally the one I castigated on how we are fighting corruption. We are using political pressure. Let me start from there. And the fight of corruption in this country has taken what we call witch hunt, malice, and in bad faith.
This organ.
Some of these things should, if there was a policy that the president needed to be adopted, we should have been made aware. We should. There are some amendments that come from government so that it has never come to attention of our legislators. But we have already assured the president that the fight against corruption should be done. And if there is any legislative and policy framework, you cannot just wake up one morning and want to implement something. Yet there is no. We have not developed a program.
Is this a witch hunt?
Yes, it is.
Who is hunting the deputy president?
No, it's not about even hunting deputy president. There are many people who are being done political witch hunt. It is because we are a capitalist society, and even you yourself, you can do business. It doesn't matter that you have to use salary.
But your people are being hunted, is what you're saying.
No, we are not saying Kenyans are being hunted. It is political witch hunt. It is done in malice. And that is why, finally, I want to give you an example, finally, kindly. The DPP last week came to my committee. He said there were 57 files that were brought by EACC. One only qualified for prosecution. It meant that the corruption was being done on political pressure because it cannot meet even the basic threshold of the law.
Okay. Yet corruption is a problem. So the hunting must happen, but as you say, in context.
But let us do it in a genuine way, in good faith, so that we can ensure we finish corruption in this country. It has bedeviled this country for 50 years.
Cherargei, Senator, Nandi County, thank you very much for your time here on The Big Story. Yusuf.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Very interesting conversation there between Sophia Onuna and Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, who is saying that they're not campaigning, but they're only making the intention clear ahead of the 2022 elections, which is about 4 years. We still have a long way to go, but it seems there are individuals among the political class who've already started campaigning. I'm going to engage both Joseph Semeka, who is an ODM strategist, as well as Abel Oyeyo. I'd called him Albert earlier. Abel Oyeyo is a political analyst, and we're still looking for the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, who I understand is on his way back to Nairobi after that ODM's Mombasa meeting, where he's going to tell us whether top on the agenda is a way of finding a way of how to deal with some of the rebel members of parliament. Now, speaking about them, let's listen in to some of the ODM elected members of parliament from the coast who have openly expressed their support for Deputy President William Ruto and his 2022 presidential ambitions.
Sisi kama wabunge, ma-MCA, viongozi wa makanisa, viongozi wa misikiti, wazee wa mitaa, or other opinion leaders, kabla tukae na naibu wa rais, tumwambie hivi ndo tutakavyokwenda. Lakini leo tunaanza kumwekea conditions. Sisi hatutakuwekea condition naibu wa rais. Kura yetu tutakupa kwa roho safi.
2022, God willing, is William Samoei Ruto.
Sisi tumekuwa upinzani miaka 25. Kweli au urongo? Kweli au urongo? Sasa wewe kama unalima shamba na alizai na bado unatumia ile analog, hauwezi kubadilisha ukaenda digital. Si lazima tuende digital safari. Hiyo shamba tumekaa nao miaka 25 tukiwa upinzani na hatukuona maendeleo ambayo tunayaona leo.
Kama sisi wa Pwani, azimio letu ni kuwa rais, azimio letu ni kujenga serikali ya mwaka 2022. Hakuna mtu mwingine tutatembea naye isipokuwa ni Samoei William Ruto. Nyinyi mko tayari?
Jukumu letu sasa si kuhubiriwa sisi viongozi. Ni sisi viongozi tuende mashinani, tuambie watu wetu kwamba tumeamua mwelekeo ni hii 22, rais si mwingine isipokuwa Mheshimiwa Deputy ambaye saa hii tuko naye, na kwa vile yeye ameamua kutufanyia, sasa hatuna sababu ya kumwacha.
There you go. Overall, at least 15 ODM and by extension NASA party legislators have openly pledged to support Deputy President William Ruto come 2022. Now, some leaders in Raila's kitchen cabinet are openly unhappy with the behavior of some ODM members of parliament at the coast. Among them is Homa Bay woman representative Gladys Wanga. Let's listen into her observations.
I think any ODM legislator who's campaigning for a candidate in another party surely is putting the horse before the cart. I think they should either make a defection to Jubilee and therefore campaign openly and therefore relinquish their seats and go and seek re-election on the party that they are supporting. But this idea of standing on this side, benefiting on that side, and then running to another side is just outright dishonesty to the electorate who have voted you.
Let me now go straight to our discussion. Tonight in the studio, once again, I have Joseph Semeka, ODM strategist, as well as Abel Oyeyo, who is a political analyst. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, thank you.
Now, Joseph, let me begin with you. You've seen those developments there, and I'm sure if somebody lands in Kenya right now at this moment, he or she might think we're almost heading to an election, maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. I don't know what your observation is this. Do you think it's a bit early to talk about 2022?
As far as the position of ODM is concerned, and actually the position of NASA, we have not yet concluded the issue of elections of 2017. It still stands as an inconclusive issue. And that's why on the part of the 9-point agenda of the National Dialogue Initiative, you have electoral justice, or if you like, electoral injustice, as one of the points of agenda on that list. So, we listen to the people who are talking about 2022, and sometimes we just wonder, are they in their right senses? Because we have hardly concluded the issue of elections of 2017. We have acknowledged to ourselves that there's a big problem in this country, both people who are in government just now, current government, and those who are in NASA have acknowledged at the highest level that we do have a political problem, and one of the manifestations of that problem is electoral injustice. That we need to dialogue over these issues as a nation, and only after that will we perhaps hopefully say we have now come to a conclusion on exactly what happened in 2017 and why and how we can avoid that in future. So those who are talking about 2022, really, I think they are completely misplaced.
Abel, let me bring you into this conversation that those who are blaming whatever we are seeing in the political scene on that famous handshake between the two main protagonists. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think when you see members of a political party shifting to another side after, we just concluded an election in 2017, that is a symptom of a disorganized and breaking apart party. That means there's a problem in ODM as a party. And of course, by now we don't have NASA because Musyoka took off, Misale took off, so now it's ODM that is now collapsing. And I think at the end of the day, the issue is not in Jubilee, the issue is in ODM now. And obviously, in 2022, Raila is not expected to be a candidate anywhere in the presidency. And that is a clear message that is being sent by some of these members of parliament. They're telling him time is up. Don't come out as a potential candidate for the 2022 presidential election. That is why they've come out and said our loyalty has now shifted to Ruto. And if, again, it's a sign of the diminishing clout of the former prime minister. If Raila was as powerful as he used to be, you could be seeing even some Jubilee MPs, shifting. It's not just ODM MPs shifting to Ruto. And and then there's, of course, the issue of the handshake. The handshake was not conducted, of course, in a structured manner. Most of these guys were left out in the conversations. And Raila actually moved in as if it was just a single man, kind of job. So they were not contented, and they're sending that message by shifting to Ruto. Of course, again, we're very far away from the election, so some of the positions they've taken may not last.
Joseph, you've heard there Abel's point of view. Do you agree with him that your party is disorganized? And of course, he has supported his sentiments by pointing out some of the members of parliament who have openly shown support for Deputy President William Ruto.
Of course, I do not, and I doubt that he would understand what happens in ODM because I have not seen him in anywhere where the party is organized and where the party conducts its affairs. So I certainly do not agree about the party being disorganized. Look, let's look at ODM not in isolation, but as part of the political system that we have in this country, which we are all acknowledging that has a problem, a serious problem. What you see happening with members of parliament from ODM, currently from the coast, shifting and saying that they're shifting allegiance, is not a surprise at all. We anticipated it. We have discussed it many times. The ideologues of the party have discussed it many times and advised the party leadership that expect this. And this is why you will not see any expression of surprise from the party leadership.
Joseph, here we're talking about a Voi member of parliament, Aisha Jumwa, Malindi member of parliament. She's been very vocal. She's been, up there, out and about during the campaign, supporting ODM and by extension Raila Odinga. Are you saying that you expected her to, jump ship and join Jubilee? And actually more, let me tell you, and actually more. It's incredible what money can do to people who do not have principles. You don't look at this what is going on in isolation. When you look at the amounts of money that have been stolen from the public purse, from public coffers, and if you follow it carefully, you will find out where and how it ends up in the political system of this country. And part of the beneficiaries of those monies are people everywhere, in Jubilee, in ODM, in ANC, in Ford, everywhere in our political system. And we have, as a nation, acknowledged that we have a corrupt political system, that we need to fix that political system. So this is not a surprise at all. When you see them saying this early enough when there's no election, we do not even have a guarantee that we'll have the next election in 2022. It could be in 2019 or 2020. Something else could happen. We may not even have William Ruto as a candidate then. So when you see them saying this early, it's about the influence, the heavy influence they've come under. And I'm just mentioning money as one example. There are many, many other things that are happening, because of this corrupt system that we have. So no surprises at all for us. Abel, do you agree with Joseph that our political system is corrupt and perhaps the deputy president might have gone ahead and bought these members of parliament in question?
I mean, I don't know what to say. Actually, I'm shocked that you can come here and claim that money has been used to purchase ODM members of parliament to shift allegiance to William Ruto. That is, I think, the highest point of intellectual laziness.
Then how can you best explain the exodus, perhaps?
What's going on is there is what we call lack of inclusive decision-making in ODM. The handshake, of course, I supported it. Personally, I supported it because it led to, the calm, the peace we're enjoying now. But it was not inclusive. ODM was not, NASA was not involved. So what's happening now, there's a sense of hopelessness. These guys are shifting to a place where they think the interests will be taken care of. That is it. And again, it points to the diminishing clout of the former prime minister. These guys are trying to position themselves in a place where they feel their future is done what? Catered for. It's intellectual laziness to come here and claim all these guys have been given money. In fact, that is actionable legally. So you cannot claim that all these 15 members of parliament, including senators and even, a governor, have been given, sufficient amounts of money to shift and talk about Ruto. It's not, that is not true. So ODM needs to, sort out its mess, and I think it's too late. And when we talk about 2022, Raila has been a candidate for so long for the presidency. And, he's contributed so much to the democratic processes of the country. And some guys are just saying it's time for him to exit the stage. And some of the members of parliament from the coast who actually hold that kind of position have shifted allegiance to Ruto. And just like the senator who was interviewed earlier by Sophia said, in Jubilee, it's clear the deputy president will be the candidate for the presidency come 2022. So for them, it's not an issue of a primary or something. They're very sure it's going to be William Ruto. So for them, it's so easy to join and say, we're behind this particular person. In ODM, you're likely to see a very big mess. Most likely, there'll be Wetangula, there'll be Musyoka here, there'll be Musalia. Raila might want to come in again.
Yes, Abel, I think you've delivered your point there, and it's only fair I give Joseph a chance to react to that. But that will happen after this very short break. Of course, this is the big story right on KTN News. It's exactly 26 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back with much more. Stay with us.
This is KTN.